Welcome to the IVF Abroad podcast for people who are struggling with infertility and trying to conceive, and who are facing more obstacles than options when it comes to having fertility testing or treatment in their home countries. Alongside other experts, I will share, educate and empower you on your journey and help you to learn more about going abroad for advanced fertility testing and treatments like IVF and egg donation. I'm Emma Haslam, your host, now mum of one, and the go-to expert in fertility treatment abroad. Since the birth of our son in 2018, I have made it my mission to make fertility treatment more informed, transparent, accessible, supported and affordable for more people. And I help people just like you to become unstuck, to find a best fit clinic that truly meets their needs, and to have fertility treatment on their terms and timescales so they can achieve their dreams of growing their families. And I'm here now to help you too. Be sure to check out the free resources in the show notes for more help after listening to today's episode. Welcome back, it's Emma here with this week's episode of the IVF Abroad podcast. And I think this episode is quite poignant because so many people are telling me that they're getting stuck and overwhelmed, and it's either preventing them from making a decision about whether going abroad is right for them or not to have, for example, advanced testing or fertility treatment like IVF, egg donation, etc. Or they've made the decision to go abroad, but then they're so stuck in the kind of weeds of researching that it's stopping them from making any firm plans. And actually, they're paralysed by indecision because they're so overwhelmed by all of the options that even though they've made this decision to go abroad, nothing's actually happening. They're doing all the things, they're doing all the right things. And this is not their fault, but it's just almost like the more they do, the more confused and the more overwhelmed they become, and the more unable they are to take steps forward. And so many people know that they're stuck and that something different needs to happen, but they don't often know what they need to do to break out of that, or what, if any, other options might be available to them. And then they get stuck in research mode, comparing clinics, reading forums, scrolling social media, asking strangers on the internet for recommendations, going based on one person's recommendation, and still feeling no clearer on what to actually do next. And if you are like listening to this and thinking, heck yes, I feel seen, please know that all of this is said without any judgment. As I said, you're doing all of the right things. And sometimes it's about just stopping for a moment and recognizing that actually what we're doing isn't taking us towards where we need to be. And what happens is we waste so much time and energy, and it is exhausting. Being in limbo is one of the worst bits of a fertility journey, I think. And yes, we need to do things properly. Yes, we need to do our due diligence. Yes, we need to, exercise caution, make sure we understand what we're doing. But if researching just means that we are actually meeting ourselves coming backwards and we're not able to move forwards and start planning, or we're not able to make the decision about whether going abroad is right for us or not, then something different needs to happen. And in this episode, I want to break down why I think so many people get stuck researching fertility testing and or treatment abroad. And more importantly, how you can recognize this and then what to do instead. Because you're not alone. Honestly, you are not alone. I hear this all the time from clients before they become clients, from people in my community, from things I read online. People get stuck and they stay stuck for too long. And the problem isn't that you're not capable of figuring things out. Problem is that nobody's shown you how to do it properly. And the problem is that there is so much information out there now, often conflicting, not always accurate, and available at our fingertips, that almost becomes a problem in itself. So I am going to talk you through 4 reasons why I think main reasons why people are getting stuck. And stick with me until the end, because I have something free for you, free and special for you at the end. So, one of the main reasons I think that people get stuck is they perhaps take on board the opinions of others about whether or not they should go abroad for fertility treatment. This will particularly resonate with you if you are in the camp of being undecided. And often these opinions come from well-meaning friends and family who know nothing about going abroad for fertility treatment. Or they have heard, sometimes accurate, sometimes sensationalized, stories in the media about going abroad for cosmetic surgery, for fertility treatment, and things going wrong. And that's their level of knowledge. And so, of course, as people who love and care about you, they're going to tell you not to do it, perhaps. And they're not doing it to make things more difficult for you. They're doing it because they care about you. But it's recognizing that, are you taking advice from somebody or people that know nothing actually about a topic? And while they're right in that, there have been cases of things that have gone wrong for people when they've gone abroad, that's because those people haven't perhaps had the right support and guidance and have gone somewhere, clinic, country, both, where things were not as they should have been. And things like that shouldn't happen. And it's not those people's fault. But it almost can tar the whole world outside of your home country with the same brush, which really is unfair. But once you know what you're doing and you know how to make safe decisions, then actually that negates that concern. But often we will listen to people around us and get advice from people when they're not actually qualified to give us that advice. So sometimes it's about just checking in when people give you advice to think, okay, what's this based on? Where's this coming from? And is this person an expert? And I'm not saying to disregard what people say, but, sometimes that can make it very difficult for people to make decisions and feel like you have to stay within your home country, and you can completely disregard something that could be amazing for you based on somebody else's fears and worries, which may not actually be accurate. So that's a big problem for some people. And then for others who have decided that they do want to go abroad, the first thing people do is they Google things or they go on AI and they ask questions like, best fertility clinic, Czech Republic, for example. And I'm not knocking people for doing this. Like, I did this when I was searching for a clinic for us, like 9 years ago. But all that will come up is the clinics that pay the most to Google to come up. And every clinic will say they're the best clinic ever. And what happens is suddenly you've got like 27 tabs open and no real clue which is the best clinic for you and what really matters. And the truth is, that shouldn't be the main starting point. You need to be thinking before that of almost like a strategy of what you need. And before thinking about what you need in a clinic, what you need from a country, what treatment or tests are you looking for? Which country's laws and ethics fit your needs? Are you looking for donor treatment? Because that's another thing to understand. Have you got real safety in place in the countries that you're considering going to protect you? And things like, can you get there? Travel logistics, budgets. Yes, you can save loads of money going abroad. 9 out of 10 people save a substantial amount of money. But actually, depending on where you live and depending on where you're going to go, will depend on how far that budget stretches and what the prices look like. Same for things like accommodation and travel. Also understanding timelines as well. And, a lot of clinics don't necessarily cater to international clients or don't cater to them very well. So there's a lot of things to be considered before starting to Google clinics, because not every country is right for every person and not every clinic is right for every person either. And suddenly all of that can just feel like so much. And it is a lot. It's a lot when you've not done this before. I know how overwhelming this feels because I did it for myself 9 years ago, and it's a lot. And then what happens is we've got so much information, as I mentioned earlier, at our fingertips that people consume so much conflicting information. They go into research mode through things like AI, socials, Google, forums, groups, well-meaning strangers on the internet, friends, family. So much information coming at us at a time when things are difficult and stressful. And while some of it can be helpful, and I'm not knocking having information at our fingertips, that is a massive privilege, but also it can be like a blessing and a curse. Because while some of it, yes, is helpful, a lot is outdated, biased, generic, marketing, utter nonsense, or based on somebody else's very different situation to yours. And often what I see is too much information doesn't create clarity for people. It just creates more confusion and people aren't able to take any action and they just become stuck. And this is a time-sensitive thing, isn't it? You know this. We've got the ticking clock in our ear, and being stuck in limbo, as I've said before, is the worst place to be. And it just takes loads of time, it takes loads of energy, and you're still perhaps no further forwards in either making that decision to go abroad or not, or you've decided and then it's like, oh my goodness, there's just so much to do and learn and know. And you're trying to get all the information and you're trying to research and kind of answer the questions in your brain, and it's not working. It just creates so much confusion, and it's not your fault. You're doing the right things, or you think you're doing the right things, but essentially over-researching just, for some people, leaves them stuck in that analysis paralysis, and then you've almost got no idea what you're doing. You feel more confused than when you started. And, I'm a big researcher, so I really recognize myself in doing this. And when we were trying to find a clinic, it was straight into Google, best fertility clinic abroad. That's the kind of thing that I was doing. And I now know that that's not helpful, but you don't know any different. And you can totally see why that's where people think that they need to start. The third reason, I think, is that people focus on the wrong things. So without knowing, we become focused on things like which clinic has got the nicest website, which clinic has got the highest success rates, even though success rates are difficult to compare. Clinic to clinic, country to country, are presented in very different ways. So you can't actually compare and might not be the type of clinic you need for your situation, for your medical needs. So, for example, somebody with unexplained infertility, if they're going to go to a clinic that specialises in unexplained infertility, their success rates may be lower than a clinic that only accepts people under the age of 35 with, a less complex medical history. Then their scores, their success rates will be higher. Whereas that could be an amazing clinic for someone who's got unexplained infertility. They may have a very high success rate for people in that bracket. And this is the thing, it's also nuanced. Things like flashy social media presence as well. So sometimes we're not comparing things that are accurate, or we're comparing things that have been presented in a certain way, because rarely do these things tell the full story. And the best clinic for you will be potentially a different clinic to somebody else. Sorry, a different best clinic to somebody else's. And it may not be the most obvious one that you see online or the one that's spending thousands of pounds every month to come up at the top of a Google search or a free clinic matching tool. And the real question I want you to be thinking about is, which clinic is going to be best suited to your medical needs, your goals? Your goal will inevitably be to grow your family, but before that, is it that you feel like more testing needs to be done? Is it that you want to try one more time with your own eggs? Is it that you're looking to move to donor conception? Are you LGBTQ plus and looking for an LGBTQ plus friendly clinic? What's your budget for your treatment? What's your personality like? What do you think you're going to need from a clinic? And what timelines you're on? These are the kind of things that you need to be focusing on first, rather than things that we think matter or that we might be being influenced by and not even realizing it, like the flashy websites and the social media presence and things like that. And then the final thing that is one of the main reasons, I think, alongside the over-researching, one of the main reasons people stay stuck is that they think they need the whole plan now. And they think they need to be able to figure everything out immediately. And the sad reality is, and I struggled with this so much as somebody who likes to plan, is that on any fertility journey, you cannot figure everything out immediately, home or abroad. You just can't. Now, there are elements of things that can be taught in the right order to give you a kind of roadmap. Absolutely. But really, a lot of it will just depend on what happens as a result of which clinic you choose, what the suggested treatment plan looks like. And there's so many variables. And this is probably not what you want to hear. But I think sometimes it's useful to hear things like this, because if you're trying to control something you cannot control, then it's almost like giving you permission to go, it's okay not to have everything figured out. It's okay not to have all the answers, because honestly, it is impossible to do so. You cannot have all of the answers. And if you're trying to do that, you will keep staying stuck. Yes, get a roadmap. Yes, have a general idea. But don't be too fixed to it. What you need to do next is to figure out your next right step, then the next step, then the next step. Now, sometimes you need to figure out 2 or 3 steps in advance just to kind of get you started, like particularly if you're deciding whether or not going abroad is right for you. Yeah, you might need to know a few steps at once as a general guide as to what is likely to happen to work out if it's right for you or not. That makes complete sense. But if you're trying to figure out from A to B everything that's going to happen, it is impossible. So give yourself permission to let go of that and to know that you just need the next right step. And sometimes that next right step is understanding the roadmap, is understanding your options properly. It might be that the next step is actually you need to get some advanced testing. You don't feel like things have been tested properly, and that will then help inform what your next steps are going to be. Sometimes it's to narrow down countries. Sometimes it's that you need an overview of what the process is likely to look like for a few of those steps, and to know which bits are kind of a likely given and which bits may move, may look different, but not everything at once, because it's just not possible. And I don't want you to waste your time staying stuck when you're trying to do something that is literally impossible. And I say all of these things without any judgment. None of this is your fault. If you're listening to this and thinking, oh my God, I'm doing one or more of these things, you're not on your own. So many people do. I did. I looked for support, guidance, and it wasn't out there. There was very little online back then. There's a lot more now. And in some ways that's helpful, but in other ways, actually, it's not helpful for you. And I see it so often, people who contact me and then 2 years later come back and will say things like, we wish we'd have just done it in the first place. We wish we'd have, moved forward. We've been stuck in indecision. We've been stuck not knowing what to do. And it's not their fault. You can only do things when you're ready. And you're ready when you're ready. But it's recognizing, am I, or are we, depending on your situation, keeping ourselves stuck because we're doing one or more of these things? And if you are, then perhaps it's helpful just to pause for a second and think, right, something needs to change, because this is me, this is us, this is what we're doing, and we're not moving forwards. And it's not about blame, and it's not about thinking this is your fault, because it isn't. It's about looking at, right, what are I and what are we going to do differently? So what should you do instead? You need to start with a plan, not Googling clinics first. You need to focus on your situation, not on other people's, and be careful whose opinion you listen to, and be careful whose information you're consuming, and making sure that you're getting the right information in the right order, and not trying to solve all parts of a puzzle for a journey that you just cannot plan. And then take one step, not 10. And learn from somebody who understands the landscape, because honestly, researching alone will just keep you stuck longer than is necessary, and I don't want that for you. If you have been listening to this and thinking, oh my God, I feel seen, this is exactly me, please honestly know, feeling stuck does not mean you have failed in any way, shape or form. It just means that you need some clarity, you need a roadmap, and you need a plan for your next step. And that is exactly why I've decided to do a live training for you with a Q&A. So it's a little bit special because it's been about a year since I've done anything like this. And the live workshop is called The 3 Secrets to Going Abroad for Fertility Treatment. And most people won't know what these things are. And in the training, I'm going to help you to understand whether treatment abroad is right for you. So to help you to make that decision if you haven't already decided. And then for those of you that have decided, or for those of you that this helps to decide, if you're going to go abroad, then I'm going to tell you how to approach it properly. The highlights, the opportunities, of course, but alongside that, the watch outs and the mistakes to avoid as well. And I'm going to do a live Q&A to take a few of your questions as well. So it's on Wednesday, the 29th of April, 7 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. British summertime. On Zoom. I don't care if you turn up with your cameras on, off, in your pajamas, eating your dinner, eating your breakfast, depending on where you're listening to this. I'm not bothered. But what I am bothered about is you carving out this time for yourself to come along. Whether you're undecided, or whether you've just started thinking about researching, planning, or whether you are in super researching mode and feeling completely overwhelmed, it is for you. Come exactly as you are. It's completely free. All you need to do is sign up to get the Zoom link via the link in the show notes. And if you're listening after the live date, so the 29th of April, 7 p.m. until 8:30 p.m., then I will include access to the replay in the show notes too. All right. I hope this episode has helped you to feel a little bit clearer, a little bit less alone, and I will speak to you next week. Bye. If you are facing more obstacles than options and want to learn more about how to overcome your fertility testing and treatment challenges in your home country so that you too can fast track to growing your family and on your terms, then check out my free training at yourivfabroad.co.uk/free masterclass. Don't forget to rate and subscribe so you don't miss an episode and so that I can reach and help more people. Thanks for listening.